Welcome back to Banging the Can, the Houston sports podcast that does not apologize for championship rings and tings, brought to you by Bolen Media. I am your host, Ross Bolen, and today we got a lot to catch up on in the wide world of sports. So let's get started, people. No small talk, no bullshit up front, no nonsense, just piping hot sports takes. Let's fucking go. Major League Baseball held their All-Star festivities this past weekend in Los Angeles at Dodger Stadium. Obviously, a fairly hostile environment for Astros players, coaches, and fans. Kiss the ring, you West Coast bums. Quick question. Does anyone remember or recall how old Juan Soto is? Juan Soto's age? Anyone? Oh, God, I cannot remember. Anyway, I am completely incapable of giving a shit about baseball's All-Star break anymore. Honestly, it's something I cared a lot more about when the Astros were not in contention, when the Astros sucked balls, because it was the only remotely fun thing about baseball at that point. But now that we are perennial contenders, I don't know, man. I just can't make myself care anymore. The Derby and the All-Star game are just a lot more fun when you're a little kid, and it was a lot easier to talk myself into watching pre-social media era, right? Like, I ended up catching all the highlights on Twitter and Instagram anyway without having to spend 4 hours of my life watching 500 commercials. Plus, I think part of it, like, honestly, is that I get triggered by all the players we know from postseason battles in my lifetime that are obviously present at All-Star Weekend. Among those being Albert fucking Pujols. This man Pujols is 42 years old. 42 years old. And yet somehow still crushing the baseball to the point that his old ass made the semifinals in the home run derby. Just incredibly impressive. He is literally almost double Juan Soto's age. Double. Twice as much life has occurred. And I spent years of my life hating Albert Pujols more than any other player in baseball for what he did to Brad Lidge. I am only just now recovering from that moonshot that is yet to fucking land. And finally, I have reached a point of peace where I have nothing but respect for the great Albert Pujols. Look, I am 35 years old now. And as much I have an outrageous amount of respect for not only the longevity of Pujols, but the fact that he's still crushing the ball and seemingly enjoying himself the way that he is. It's still fuck the Cardinals forever. But Albert is all right with me. Forgiveness is the key. So I've been told. Also, Seattle's 21-year-old rookie Julio Rodriguez scares the absolute shit out of me. That kid is a freak, and I do not like that he's in our division and on a 14-game winning streak going into the break. That kind of like snuck up on me. I remember when the Mariners hit 10 games, and I was like, whatever, fuck Seattle. I guess we just rolled through the front half of the season so hard, the Astros, that I barely paid attention to the competition past that first month, and holy hell, this dude is going to be a problem on the Mariners for a long time. That being said, they've won 14 straight, yet still have a 9-game gap to close in terms of catching the Astros. So it's not exactly panic button time. Julio Rodriguez, obviously someone to keep an eye on, though. Holy shit. I think he blasted 32 homers in the first round of the Derby, and it was kind of obvious, like, yeah, you don't do that, bro. You're going to be worn out. But he's a rookie, and you kind of just have to let it ride at that point when you don't really know how the energy distribution works round to round yet. And my God, that was something to behold. But congratulations to Dusty Baker for getting that All-Star game win. But yeah, I'm ready to get back to real baseball now. Speaking of realness, according to Matt Young at the Houston Chronicle, Jim Mattress Mac McInville put down another bet on the Astros to win the World Series. And not like, Jim's not like you and me, betting to have fun with it and shit. To quote Casino, like, make a little extra scratch here and there. No. This dude is absolutely nuts with the way he throws his money around, and obviously working with his promotions at his mattress company, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, so he threw down $2 million on Monday of this week, that would win him $10.6 million if the Astros win the World Series this year. Here's a quote from McInville. He was at the LaBerge while wearing an Astros jersey with "Win It All" and 2 times on the back. "Thanks to Barstool Sports for taking this enormous bet. Not many places do," said McInville. "Barstool has bent over backwards to help us, and we're excited about this bet and excited about the Gallery Furniture 2 times promotion." End quote. The dude just doesn't stop. I mean, he's, as the article states, this is the 3rd huge bet McInville has put on this year's Astros team to win it all. In May, he bet $3 million at 10-1 odds through the Caesars Sportsbook app. And it's funny to me that he's doing this through apps. Like, he's not even rolling into the casino and placing the bet with the teller. Like, he's literally putting down $3 million bets through the Caesars Sportsbook app or the Barstool Sportsbook app. He threw another $1 million at 12-1 through the WinBet app. The $30 million payout from Caesars, by the way, at 10-1 would be the largest win ever at a legal sportsbook. I will repeat that. If he wins his $3 million May bet at 10-1 odds through the Caesars Sportsbook app, it will be the largest win ever at a legal sportsbook. That's the level Mattress Mac is slanging his meat at now. All right? He's always throwing down these multi-million-dollar bets at sportsbooks to hedge, right, against his in-store promotions that he does. He offers customers their money back if they spend a certain amount and a designated Houston team wins a championship. Everybody knows that. But it never gets old seeing the old-timer absolutely send it with these ridiculous wagers and promotions. I love it. I love it. Long live the most degenerate mattress salesman and marketing god of all time, Jim Mattress Mac McInville. Today's episode is brought to you by Felix Gray Glasses. 5 years ago, Felix Gray set out to create eyewear that would improve daily screen time. And since then, Felix Gray has been on a mission to create a better relationship with technology. Felix Gray lenses filter 15 times more blue light that comes from the screens that makes screen time tough on eyes and disruptive to our sleep. I've been working on the internet for over a decade now. It's the only career I've ever had, all right? I'm like 10 hours a day staring at screens. My eyes get worn the hell out. And when I'm done with work, I like to relax by watching sports on TV, like many of you, which obviously everyone knows involves even larger screens. So a few years ago when I was introduced to Felix Gray, everything changed. These glasses are the quality of designer frames. It's not some cheap blue light coating painted over them that's going to chip off. Never happens. No chipping, no cheapness. Just incredible quality designer frames that are stylish and functional as they protect your eyes from all the blue light that the screens we rely upon emit. It's hard to cut back on your screen time, man. It's really difficult, especially if you have a career like mine, but you can do your eyes a solid and get yourself some Felix Grays to get relief from those headaches, dry eyes, blurry vision, and what have you that occurs over the course of the workday. If you're looking at a few pairs, might I recommend the Faraday, the Nash, or the West frames on Felix Gray. Just hit felixgrayglasses.com/thecan to support the show and get free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges, non-prescription and prescription available. Check them out now. felixgrayglasses.com/thecan. That's FELIXGRAY glasses.com/THECAN, as in banging the can. felixgrayglasses.com/thecan for free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges. And other Astros-related news. Lance McCullers Jr. and Mr. October himself, Reggie Jackson, who is one of the Astros' executive assistants, if you didn't realize that, they both appeared in the most recent Travis Scott Nike commercial with Ashtray from Euphoria. Rest in peace. Love seeing the squad get that type of exposure. And it appears we as a society are ready to let Travis Scott out of cancel culture jail for what occurred at his last Astroworld Festival. Obviously, that was an incredible tragedy. LMJ and LaFlame have been boys for a while now. This is not some big shock or anything, but it's still pretty cool to see. The shoe is the Air Jordan 1 Low OG Reverse Mocha, which, while an idiotic name, is an admittedly solid shoe. Trav has a solid eye for design. I dig his sneakers. I'm a big sneakerhead. I'm glad to see he's able to move forward with his life a little bit after the tragedy, which, look, it can absolutely not all be thrown at his feet as much as some people want to. And I think you're starting to see that come through a little bit with support throughout the Houston celebrity community, right? You know, with a lot of different people seemingly engaging with him publicly again. And so, yeah, you got Lance McCullers Jr. and Reggie Jackson right there in the Nike Travis Scott commercial, which is, just cool for the Astros, I suppose. The Astros, by the way, start the back half of the season on Thursday at Minute Maid against the Yankees. Then we start our series against the Seattle Mariners late Friday night. Very important games to get this shit back popping on the second half of the MLB season. And in case you were wondering, no, I will not be watching The Captain. I could give a shit about Derek Jeter. Fuck the Yankees. Dude, go rent and watch Facing Nolan about Nolan Ryan instead. It's now available to rent on Apple and everywhere. Salute to director and former guest of our show, Bradley Jackson. Really appreciate him coming through for us. Lots going on in the NBA offseason as well. First off, at the beginning of July, the Rockets finally caved and bought out John Wall's contract. He was scheduled to make a astounding $47.4 million next season. That's even more than Westbrook somehow. What a couple of absolutely crap contracts those two had. And we had both of them on our team at one point, different times. Holy hell. So John Wall gets $41 million from the Rockets after the buyout and one of the most financially ridiculous tenures in the history of our franchise. That check had to hurt to write for Tillman, but it moves the team in the right direction. Obviously, John Wall deserves an opportunity to close out the back, part of his career here. He's getting up there in age, with a chance to really play, and that's not what he's going to get here in Houston, so I'm glad to see he got the opportunity to move on, especially to a team that really I don't see as a threat, the Clippers. Not that the Rockets are contending right now anyway. I just fucking hate the Clippers and both teams in Los Angeles, really. All of the teams that aren't our team, for the most part, except for the Sixers, which we'll get to in a second, but happy to see John get to move along his very, very rich and merry way. Also, the NBA Summer League concluded, and as per usual, all the NBA superfans and NBA Twitter wildly overreact in every conceivable way, which is always funny to watch. Like, there are legitimately psychos online who treat the NBA Summer League like it's the freaking playoffs, man. Like basketball heads who go completely insane during the offseason, and they just can't help themselves with this shit. It's too funny to me. Jabari looks solid, though, and I obviously cannot wait for October. Today's episode of Banging the Can is also brought to you by BetterHelp. Life is full of twists and turns. It's important to show up for yourself through it all. BetterHelp Online Therapy will assess your needs and can match you with your your own licensed therapist in less than 48 hours. A professional therapist in less than 48 hours. I've been in therapy for a decade. All right. And without it, frankly, I don't think I'd have this show or my job or be anywhere near where I currently am in life. It's an essential tool in my tool belt for ensuring I can handle whatever the fuck this insane world throws my way. And the last few years beat the absolute shit out of me. Therapy helped me not only maintain, but thrive and grow through the chaos. Now, I realize that therapy can be extremely intimidating. It's a difficult thing to get started. I can relate. And that's what makes our sponsor, BetterHelp, so phenomenal. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional therapy done securely online, available to people worldwide. You can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you don't have to be on camera if you don't want to. And getting therapy every week is as easy as a few clicks from your laptop or phone. I can't recommend therapy with BetterHelp enough. And they have a special offer for the can bangers out there. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/BTC. That's 10% off your first month of online therapy at betterhelp.com/BTC. In other NBA news, James Harden has apparently decided to take whatever is left over from the Sixers salary cap after Morey is done getting the band back together and signing additional talent. And of course, very few people I have found are willing to give Jimmy Harden any credit for being unselfish here. If you're one of the goofballs who says, oh yeah, like it matters to his bottom line, he's a filthy rich multimillionaire, you can absolutely suck a toad. We're talking about generational wealth he is leaving on the table here. Money that most of us would literally kill for. And he's doing it so that he can win a championship and undo all the underachieving reputation that has plagued him for years. That's something money can't buy. Only rings can free you from that hell, and Harden knows that. Now, is it too little too late for a dude that absolutely should end up with at least one championship ring during his NBA career? We're going to have to wait and see. But for now, watching Daryl Morey reassemble the squad in Philly with Joel Embiid is a real riot. They've got Daniel House, the horny boy up there. They've got NBA champion PJ Tucker. If the Rockets somehow manage to ship Eric Gordon to Philly, then, I mean, really, the Rockets fans, we get to root for a squad in each conference next season, if we so choose, without judgment, which is tight. So, yeah, also Harden launched James Harden Wines this week, which is just, I mean, that's a joke that writes itself. I don't even think I have to say anything else. He clearly does not need any more money, though. Now that he's 32, I think, seriously, the next thing I want for James Harden is love and family. Whether that's with some exotic dancer or Lil Baby, no judgment. I just want to see him thrive off the court as well. That's all. Speaking of the Rockets, shout out to Clutch fans, by the way. I'm not up in the message boards and forums anymore like I used to be, but Clutch fans is far and away the greatest online Rockets community, undisputed. So much old head knowledge in there and just an endless plethora of shit takes to tackle. It never gets old. Shout out to Clutch. Anytime that I really feel like going and digging through a bunch of the really nitty-gritty Rockets stuff regarding guys on the team whose names I barely remember, further down the bench or in development. That's where I go, man. I go to clutchfans.net. They've always been great. I've been operating forever. I think if you get in there and search for like Boss Rollin, I think is my username. I probably have a ton of old takes floating around in the system from back like in the Luis Scola era of the Rockets. But yeah. Anyway, a little bit more business to take care of, and then I've got some more thoughts to close out. But today's episode of Banging the Can is also brought to you by Grammarly at Bolen Media, my company here. We produce several podcasts, but we only have 3 full-time employees, so we don't really have room for miscommunication. Communication is literally our business, and that's why I love Grammarly so much. When you're moving fast and juggling more projects than you can count, you don't have time for breakdowns in communication. Luckily, Grammarly makes professional writing fast and simple. It's an all-in-one writing tool that helps you churn out clear, concise communication quicker than ever. So whether it's mass emails or boardroom presentations or official contracts, you can find the right words to communicate effectively. Grammarly makes me a more effective and efficient writer when I'm writing my shows or typing emails for work, not only by checking my spelling and grammar as I go, but also allowing me to quickly access synonyms so I don't end up using the same words repeatedly. Also, if I miss a spot where I needed a comma, it'll fix that. It's honestly essential. Grammarly is free to download as a desktop app and works where you do, so you can more efficiently work on all of your projects, really. Trying to nail down the perfect cold pitch? Use Grammarly's free tone detector to make sure you're making the right impression. You've got the ideas in your head, but putting those ideas into words can be tricky. With Grammarly Premium, you can clear up the confusion with clarity-focused sentence rewrites. Convey confidence with ease when you use Grammarly Premium's tone transforms. Get to the point faster and accomplish more with Grammarly today. Go to Grammarly.com/BTC to sign up for a free account. And when you're ready to upgrade to Grammarly Premium, you'll get 20% off for being a can banger. That's 20% off at GRAMMARLY.com/BTC. And in the most shameful news of the day, the Houston Texans reached settlements with 30 women accusing the team's former quarterback, Deshaun Watson, of sexual misconduct during massage sessions. Now, obviously, details of these settlements between the team, our NFL franchise, the Houston Texans, representing our city, and these women are confidential. So we don't exactly know, we don't have any clue, really, what the financial toll was. One of the women also filed suit against the team after a New York Times investigation revealed that they, essentially, the Texans organization provided Watson with access to not only a hotel room where some of the misconduct occurred, and a member of the team's security apparently gave Watson a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA, to give to these massage therapists when he was booking appointments, which I'm not all that sure that's not standard practice. All right, there's probably a member of the Texans team who is responsible for giving the players NDAs to give to certain people that they have relationships with, professional working relationships. Now, when it comes to a massage therapist, Obviously, that's a little bit strange. I guess the excuse you could make is like, hey, you could accidentally see my dong, and I don't want you telling people about my dong, or like maybe discussing my weird toes or like ingrown hairs on my leg that cause like pimples. I don't know. Whatever the concern is that you would throw out there, the obvious point here is that Deshaun Watson was using these NDAs to operate in a very inappropriate way, I think is fair to say. So it's not a good look for a franchise that, frankly, is completely lacking in good looks at this point. And so in the filing against the Texans, the team was said to have turned a, quote, blind eye to its players' behavior, the player obviously being Deshaun Watson. So other women also intended to make similar legal claims against the Texans, but these settlements were reached, and apparently Watson has settled cases with 20 women who filed suit against him. There are still 4 outstanding. There's a great quote from Tony Busby, the accusers' attorney. He said, "I will have no further comment on the allegations or the Texans' alleged role, other than to say that there is a marked contrast in the way in which the Texans address these allegations and the way in which Watson's team has done so." Boom! Roasted. I mean, look, if I was proud of being a Texans fan, this on a personal level for me would matter a little bit more. But because the franchise is in such low standing for me already, them having to settle with our former quarterback's sexual assault accusers is just, I mean, can we go any lower? What the hell, man? It's an embarrassment to the city. The whole franchise is at this point. I hope they can turn it around. I hope we're looking at a positive season next year with Davis Mills, obviously looked at as like really the number 2 most successful quarterback of the rookie class from last season, up there with Daniel Jones. And it's been a long time since we Texans fans could feel good about ourselves. This news kind of closes that chapter of horrific shit for the franchise, at least in terms of Deshaun Watson's tenure here. The Deshaun Watson case still going on. Until that is over completely, I don't think the dark cloud will be completely gone from the franchise, from our franchise, not just the Browns. But this is a step. Obviously, they did need to settle. They had some things they needed to make right. The franchise did not operate all the way in the right with Deshaun Watson. I don't think they handled everything correctly. They clearly did turn a blind eye in some form or fashion, considering just how, rabid his behavior was. It's a sad story, no matter how you look at it at this point. There's no positives. There's just none. From the way the NFL has handled it, to the way Deshaun has handled it, to the way the Texans handled it, it's all a mess. It's disgusting more than anything. And it's something I can't wait to never talk about again, honestly. I know that the other piece of this is there are people who were involved in this situation, the victims, that's not a world they get to live in, where they're never going to talk about it again. And that's kind of the point, right? Like, for us as fans, it's a talking point. It's news. But for those people, it's their lives. It's real life with real victims and real negative consequences for this man's very real sick actions, allegedly. So I can't wait for it to all be gone. Years down the line when we don't have to talk about this anymore, and hopefully at some point we're actually competitive within the National Football League again as a team. Hopefully Davis Mills is the next, not Brett Favre, next Tom Brady, but he doesn't have the, crazy gunslinger mentality that Favre had. And he's built a little bit more in the Brady realm. But I don't know, man. I'm just so sickened by this whole shit. It's just been disgusting to watch it unfold. And I know all y'all are sick of it too. It's still somehow the most dominant story in Houston football. And I'm looking forward to the NFL season regardless. It's a chapter that will never go away in terms of, when you look at it from the way this unfolded for us as fans, where we got this guy who we thought was going to be like the savior of our nothing but suffering and pain franchise and as fans of the Texans, and then he just completely fucked it. Like, he shit the bed as hard as you can. He could not have derailed. I guess he could have been like a serial killer, There's not that many things you could do worse than booking like 60-plus massage therapists to just take your dick out all the time, allegedly. Psycho shit. But yeah, so that's where we're at in the wide world of sports. We're on social media, by the way, on TikTok at Banging the Can. Same name everywhere, man. Follow us. Follow us on Twitter at Banging the Can. Follow us on Instagram at Banging the Can. We got full video of this episode on YouTube, by the way. Just go to YouTube and search Banging the Can. You can check out all of our shorts on there as well, clips from the show. My name is Ross Bolen. Again, you can follow me at WR Bolen on Twitter and Instagram. Those are my personal accounts, which they'll basically help you keep up with all the Bolen media shows here. By the way, if you're an F1 fan, Formula Bone F1 show, my co-host on my comedy podcast, the Ross Bolen Podcast, started this F1 brand in the middle of last year's F1 season. It's gone crazy. Formula Bone F1 show is available wherever you listen to Banging the Can. Got 150,000 followers on TikTok. Follow Formula Bone everywhere if you're an F1 fan. Jared Borislow, my co-host on RBP, does a phenomenal job making it both entertaining and educational every single week on Formula Bone F1 show. Again, download, listen, wherever you're consuming Banging the Can. If you're watching Westworld on HBO, we have a Westworld podcast called Freeze All Motor Functions, also available wherever you're listening. And, of course, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, our House of the Dragon podcast. August 21st, HBO's House of the Dragon, first Game of Thrones spinoff is coming. Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, formerly the #1 Game of Thrones podcast in the world, now the #1 House of the Dragon podcast in the realm. Subscribe, rate, review. Get in there. And as I mentioned, the Ross Bolen Podcast is my comedy show. We drop an episode every week wherever you're listening. And then we have a Patreon as well. If you get into that, you can find it. Bolenmedia.com/shop is where you can get a Banging the Can dad cap and t-shirts to represent on the streets of H-Town. Please, I would appreciate it greatly if you would tell all your Houston friends and family about Banging the Can. We appreciate y'all spreading the word about the show, supporting our sponsors. 3 great ones this week. FelixGrayGlasses.com/thecan for free shipping, free returns, free exchanges. Protect your eyes. Get yourself some Felix Grays. I cannot speak highly enough of therapy. It is so critical, especially if you're going through some serious shit like I did the past couple years, man. It was a lot. Therapy was an enormous piece of the pie for me. So BetterHelp, phenomenal sponsor. Go to betterhelp.com/BTC. Get 10% off your first month of online therapy. And then Grammarly.com/BTC for 20% off. Sign up for a free account at Grammarly.com/BTC. You get 20% off, though, if you go ahead and Grammarly premium your shit. Incredible communication tool. So I will be back soon. Much sooner than how long it took between our most recent episode and this one. I've had a lot going on. It's chaos out here, man, at Bolen Media. I'm making babies and moving houses, and it's just nonstop, man. Nonstop. I love it, though. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for being here with me. Hit me up on social media. Always down to talk Houston sports. Hit me in the DMs. Hit me on Twitter. Hit my email, ross@bolenmedia.com if you want. If you're a local Houston businessman and you're looking to get some advertising, holler at us as well. Ross@bolenmedia.com. We're around. Happy to help. Until next time, H-Town, stay down.